So I'm going to do an insight video today, and I was just I've woken up today. I've been going through, like I say, a bit of a shift and a transformation within myself over the last few days. When I mean within myself, it's more like on a spiritual level. There's a shifting, there's a changing, there's a shift and change in language of how I start to express my light, my energy, and a shift in consciousness of how I'm, how I'm sort of like vibrating, how I'm sort of like expressing myself as a spiritual being, and it's shifted in a way like a two or three different things. So over the last couple of days, I've had like a shift in my own sort of like journey in the sense that I feel like today I've sort of like I've come back to like an aspect of like myself. But again, when we're talking about self, we're talking about like an infinite self or a multi-dimensional self. In that sense, I've come to a, it's sort of like where you reclaim something, or you sort of like so for me it's like it's come and done like a bit of a circle. So quite a while ago, I used to sort of like do spiritual writing, and I love to do that. I love to write about things like the soul, and about spirit, and about guides, and energies. And I've always like really enjoyed writing about that kind of stuff. And when I would like, I'd say like about 10 years ago, I used to write something called like I started trying to write a book called The Flower of the Soul. And this was very much around sort of like spiritual being and growth and all those kind of things. But like today, I feel like I've been, I've come back to this kind of notion of the soul again today. And I'm just like sitting in that energy today, and sort of like reclaiming some of those, that qualities of what my soul is, and why it's here in this sense. And when I was starting to sort of like go through it today, um, it's sort of like it was a shift, and it's like a shift in it. It's like talking about this sense of being a collective in that way. And what I've been like listening to stuff over the last few weeks about collective and stuff like that. But again, it's about listening about stuff, and then being it is completely different. But that's the process. That sometimes you're drawn to something, and you start to look at it, and then you start to integrate it, and then you start to really express it, and then you start to be it. And when you're on the level of being, then you start to enter the qualities of the soul. You kind of enter the qualities of the spirit world and the spiritual energies, and the entities and the realms. So like in that sense, it's like a connection. It's a connection to source energy, and it's a connection to like this sense of like creator as well. That's another word that I'd never used before, but over the last couple of days, I listened to a podcast yesterday that was very much around, and there was an individual that works like with light language, and they were using the word creator and the creator's will. And you know, for a long time in this kind of journey within spirituality, I've always really had, like I was saying about yesterday about guides and energies and stuff. I've really sort of like always felt like a source. I've never really wanted to name it. I've never really wanted to sort of like give it any kind of label, because sometimes I feel um, you dilute something, and you can separate yourself from it, because when you start to label things, in a sense, you're losing some frequency of that experience. So I've always like sort of struggled with that as well. So in a sense, anyway, sort of. So it's very much around sort of like being a collective, and it's sort of again being a collective is having an expansive view, and having like an expansive sort of consciousness where your consciousness expands. Because a collective is like it can be one, or it can be an infinite number of energies and beings at once. So to me, and it's all like this kind of notion of like creator and source energy, and it's like the soul, and it's all like coming online. And what I mean by that is it's like the stream of consciousness, the stream of information and source energy, and also this notion of soul, and looking at it today and thinking about, well, this notion of soul is this source energy, incarnated in the human form, or the human experience, and why we're here. And this is why, like, a lot of people go on soul journeys, and soul sort of like past life regression stuff, to sort of, some people are there like because they're trying to shift and cleanse and release things. Some people, it's about reclaiming, and it's a way of sort of reconnecting to that essence, that source energy, which is the which is obviously the creative blueprint of all things, and it connects us to all things. So source, that's why source energy is so important, because it's actually, it's what aligns us. It's what allows us to be part of the collective, and it's also what makes us whole. But it also brings that uniqueness. The soul, that source energy, is the code of your uniqueness of soul. That also your soul brings these qualities, to this time, and this is why we're here. So the soul is this kind of, is my source energy that connects me and keeps me aligned, but it also allows me to be in this experience, and allows me to understand, or to experience that greater part of self, that multi-dimensional self, or that infinite self, or whatever you want to call it. And it keeps me connected. So the soul is really important in that way, because it opens up, it's that channel, it's that sort of energy that allows us to stay connected, to that aspect of self that goes far beyond the physical human experience. So it's really, really important. But I want to talk about, like, this collective, and I was thinking more about this today, and this is the expansion in consciousness as well. When you start looking at a collective, you start looking at, as a soul, or as an energy, I want to say as an energy. I think the soul is, a great way to term, but it obviously, I think, if we start looking into soul and spirit and stuff like that, it's very, the spiritual world is infinite and vast, and the workings of the spirit world are infinite and vast, and the consciousness it's so, there's so much to it that it's very difficult to explain in a physical human experience. So I'm just going to say, I'm labeling it, but I'm going to say as an energy. So as an energy, we're a collective, and we all harness that energy, that source energy, that we can open up to, and we can expand it, and as we do that, then we start to, our consciousness and our understanding expands to see ourselves beyond this human form. But it also connects us, to the infinite realms and the infinite realities of different spiritual energies, and beings that are all connected to this planet and are all connected to us. And this is what I mean is a collective. When we start looking at it in that way, we know that each and every one of us is part of that whole, and we've all incarnated on this planet for that reason, that we're starting to move this planet, and as a collective, this is what we're here for. We're here to shift and change the planet. But the shift in consciousness is moving away from the I, which is this, we all start off as this singular consciousness. When we're sort of like, when we incarnate on this planet, we start off as a singular consciousness, and when we activate our soul, or we start to connect to this source energy, or we become that energy, then we start moving past the I, and we start go the we, which is this collective energy. And the collective energy is the energy that, when we align to it, is what really changes and shifts things. And the part of the collective energy is the earth, the planet. The planet is part of the collective energy, as well as the universe is part of the collective energy. And then source is is the source, but everything that is part of source energy is part of the collective energy. So we, in that sense, it's so expansive, and it doesn't stop. It just keeps sort of like vibrating, changing, and evolving. And source energy is not something that it ever sort of like stops evolving, because it's this infinite source and stream of energy that sustains and it sustains all things. So this is why it's important that we start to activate and sort of like open up to this source energy, because when we start to do it and we see that we're this energy, then we can start to shift reality. And that's what this process is about. The shifting of reality is also connected to the shifting of the planet and the frequency of the planet, and the energy grids, the ley lines on the planet. All of this is what we're here for. As I connect into this energy and I start to talk about it, I feel I'm getting this impression of seeing the planet, and I'm seeing this energy grid around the planet, but I'm also seeing infinite beings around the planet that are at present, um, vibrating or connecting or aligning with with the planet to shift and change it. I'm also seeing a shift and change at the core of the planet. I'm seeing like the center of Mother Earth, and I'm seeing that energy at the moment being sort of aligned with, and I'm also seeing it as sort of like this infinite core being sort of connected to, and um, with that sort of like core is a vibration of frequency that's expanding, and that is also vibrating on a higher frequency. And as I see that, I feel with the planet, like the energy on the planet is shifting. The energy on the planet is shifting and changing, because that core of the planet is also like the that sort the core of the planet is like the frequency, or like is what, because I feel like the planet is like a being. It's got like an energy to it. It's like us, it's a living being, and I feel like as that this the heart of the planet, which is Mother Earth, is being aligned with, what it's bringing is it's bringing this it's allowing that sort of like the center of Mother Earth to become alive. And what's happening then is it's connecting it to the energy, and the frequency of the planet is shifting and changing, and as it's rippling out from the planet, it's going around the whole planet, and it's activating like energy frequencies, but the whole planet is vibrating and shifting on a completely different frequency. And what that does is each aspect of that frequency then affects our own frequencies, and then when we align to that and we align to the planet in that way, we shift in our consciousness, so that the planet is receiving that energy, and that sort of stream of consciousness from the source, and the source is connecting to the heart and the center of the planet, and that's aligning and shifting and changing the frequency on the planet. But then it's shifting and changing the frequency of each and every one of us, and then that's shifting and changing us to shift and change to a different frequency, so we become that collective. We become a collective consciousness, that's connected and open to source energy. And what that's doing then is that's aligning, and as I connect into that now, I'm seeing like the diamond shape, and as I connect into the diamond shape, what that's bringing in again is that unity. And the unity, when I say about heaven and earth, it shifts further than that now we're talking about source. So it's connecting. The upper triangle is about source energy, and the lower triangle is about earth. So that's what the diamond shape's doing. It's bringing that, us connecting to that source energy, and then it's coming to the earth. So again, looking at this, and I said there's a shift in my energy frequency, there's a shift in my consciousness, there's a shift in my understanding as I start to open up to this energy. It's shifted and changed, because even how I'm explaining heaven on earth before was very different. It was about bringing the energy down, connecting it, and then integrating it on the planet. But it's shifted beyond that. Now we're into a collective. We're into a collective energy, and this is the shift. This is the doorway. This is the portal that opens up for each and every one of us as we start to connect into it. And this is what this time's about. And this is why it's so important that each and every one of us aligns and becomes on a line. The internet's a great sort of like example of that, and you can use that as a spiritual tool, because actually that the internet works like like each and every one of us, an IPA or IP address, each and every one of us, and that IP address receives the information, or whatever, to come to that device. Well, we're all like that. We're like that in that way. There's many ways of sort of like seeing this, and we all have that creative, or that source energy, and that creator sort of like aspect to self, and it's been awakened for us to create reality. But again, it's like we've got to sort of like shift away from creating reality for self, because it's about the collective. It's not about self. And this is the shift in spiritual reality and spiritual consciousness, and the massive shift that's happening on the planet at the moment is about shifting away from the I and shifting into a collective. And this is how cultures expanded in spiritual sort of realities before, with Atlantis, Lemuria, those kind of cultures that are seen as these high spiritually evolved cultures. It was a collective, but it was a universal collective. It was not a singular collective. And again, this is what this time's about. And again, this is what it's about. I'm seeing pink at the moment. I've got this beautiful pink sort of like diamond shape that's coming in, which is the universe. It's very much around harmony. It's about balance. It's about union. Union is such an important sort of concept. It's to know that we're one, we vibrate as one, and that's the feeling I'm getting as I connect into my heart energy and I connect into the energies. I sit there and I look at this vibration that I'm talking about here. I very much feel like my heart I've got a universal heart and it's beating as one. It's beating on, it's vibrating as one in this very, very, very felt sense, sort of like insight and that I'm receiving right in this moment. I'm vibrating as one. It's like I feel like the trees are vibrating with me, the planet's vibrating with me, everything's vibrating with me, and it's all in harmony and union. And that's what that pink energy is bringing. There's a few colours that are in it like are coming into my head. I've got like an orangey sort of colour as well. Orange is always around sort of like balance, and it, it also can be around sort of emotions and things like that. So it's very much shifts things as well. But on a spiritual level, yeah, it's about the balance. That's what I feel like with it. I've got blue in there, which is always around sort of like communication, but it's also about channels. It's about opening up. It's very much around receiving insight, receiving understanding at the moment. There's many different sort of like, as I'm seeing in my mind's eye, or I'm getting the impression, as because I'm a clairsentient, so I get impressions, and my body's used as get feelings, and then I make the picture from there. I feel like there's lots of vibrations and frequencies that are being sort of aligned, and they're being aligned sort of. What's happening at the moment is I feel like there's many energy layers and levels that are going on with the planet, but also with each and every one of us, and within our own energy fields there's many layers that are being sort of like affected, but they're also being sort of expanded by spirit and the spiritual beings. And this is what's happening with the planet. So the many energy layers and the many energy layers of the planet are being aligned, and they're also being expanded. And this is what's going on for all of us at the moment. We're all being expanded to this new state of being, which is being in as one is being. The state of being is about being aligned with source. It's about being a creator, and it's about expanding consciousness and moving to a collective understanding, not a singular understanding. Yes, we all have to move through our singular lives, and we can't all be expansive and collective in every moment of our life. But what we need to be is we need to be connected to our source energy and our creator energy. A collective understanding and a collective sort of frequency and vibration always looks for the greatest good of all, the greatest good of the whole. It doesn't look at the I, it looks at the we. So you can do that in your daily life. You just need to, if you want to shift to a collective consciousness or a collective sort of understanding or frequency, it's trying to look for the highest outcomes of everything you do, for not just for yourself but for all. So it's looking at, I've said this before in sort of like discussions, like your infinite self is connected, so it's connected to all things and all beings, and it knows it's part of all things and all beings. So that infinite self is always looking for the highest outcome, but it's looking for the highest outcome of the whole, and you're in that. You're part of the whole. So it's trying to look for what is the outcome. If there's something that you're going to do that's going to impact and affect somebody else, but you're going to get something out of it, but they're going to be impacted, and maybe they're going to be hurt, or they're going to be left, drained or something like that. That's not a collective aspect. That's not a collective frequency. That's a singular frequency. The universe works on giving and receiving. That's the flow. That's the stream, and that's how source works. When you're open up, you receive, and source is always flowing. But then once you flows into you, then you need to express it out. Everything needs to flow in and then express out, and this is what this time's about, and this is why it's important to activate and bring that source energy, because it will help the planet, but it will also help all of us shift. And the reality needs to shift, because the reality that we're connected to at the moment, the 3D reality, is not working. We've known that for like God knows how many years. There's so much pain, there's so much suffering, there's so much, inequality. There's so many things going on, and we know that's not how spiritual beings are supposed to live, express, and but we have the ability to shift and change it, and this is through this creator sort of creator sort of like frequency, but also this collective frequency, which is what we need to awaken to, is that we're all part of the same, we're all part of the whole. And again, this is where the beings, the infinite beings of light and energy work with us, and this is what this time's about. So that's the insight for today.